nanoanatomist, an experimental neuropathologist trained in Germany, Switzerland, Hungary, Sweden, and USA. His main research interests is currently focused on the neurotoxicity of the nanoparticle and nanowire drug delivery of agents for enhanced neuroprotections in a variety of CNS disorders or neurodegenerative disease in relation to the blood-brain barriers, double P functions. He has authorized more than 250 original research papers and edited several books, volumes, Progress in Brain Research series. I now have the immense pleasure of inviting Dr. Sharma to presenting his works.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you for the honor. I will discuss some of our research in collaboration with various organizations. We are working together with University of Basque Country Bilbao, and then we have University of Medicine and Pharmacy, Cluj-Napoca, Romania. We are also working with US Air Force Research Laboratory, European Office of Aerospace Research and Development, National Center of Toxicological Research, USFDA, University of Modena, and we have also collaboration from AstraZeneca, Biopharma, and it is supported by the government of Sweden. I am from Uppsala University, and there is large support from US government, including Department of Defense. So our idea is to find out what nanomedicine can do, and we understand that nanomedicine can potentiate the effect of drugs. I have to say that all the views that I am presenting is mine, and it has nothing to do with any government or any organizations I am working with. Nanomedicine nowadays is very important, and people are studying delivering drugs for many diseases, both central nervous system as well as peripheral nervous system, and in all cases liver, kidney toxicity, even bone repair. So, but working with USFDA, we know that the nanotoxicity of nanoparticles are very less examined so far. There are certain experiments they are doing in vitro, but in vivo experiments are not done. So we are looking at what is important, size of nanoparticles, types, or different environments that can affect the nanodelivery to the brain. I am basically a neurophysiologist turned neuropathologist, and my main interest in blood-brain barrier, as mentioned by the chair. And I can tell you that this is Professor Stanley Rappaport from NIH. He was the first person to write a book in 1976 on blood-brain barrier in physiology and medicine. I did my doctoral thesis in 1982 on blood-brain barrier distress, and I have the privilege that Dr. Rappaport was one of the examiners, and he recommended it with great comments. This is my supervisor of this thesis, Professor P.K.J. from Varanasi. We are talking about neuroprotection. It means that this term was coined in 1980s, and then people believe that only we have to protect neurons because the experiments were based on ischemic injury. But now we know that we have more glial cells in the brain, of course 6 to 10 times, and of course after that the endothelial cells even 15 times. So we have to also look the permeability properties of endothelial cells, and we want to restore the function of endothelial cells, the gateway for brain diseases. So we discussed this in our book on blood-brain barrier in health and disease, and I'm showing this is Milton Brightman. He's also the NIH neuroanatomist, and I have the honor that he wrote foreword to the book. So we emphasize some of the aspects of blood-brain barrier because it is lying between the endothelial cells. They are connected with tight junction. This was the first report by Brightman, and Rees showing this lanthanum that has 12 angstrom in diameter cannot cross and we stop at the first tight junction. Then I turned to neuropathology since 1988, and my mentor was Professor Hilton. He was also the president of International Society of Neuropathology. Then I had the opportunity to work with Professor Sharma. He is a great electron microscopist and known as one of the legends in neuropathology of the Europe. So our hypothesis is that any kind of CNS insult opens this barrier, leading to many changes like edema, gene expression, apoptosis, and then cell death. So what we do about Alzheimer's disease and nanomedicine? It is well known that a German scientist named Alzheimer discovered in 1902 this woman about the disease. And as you can see that in Alzheimer's disease, the human brain looks like this as compared to this normal. And therefore, several kinds of functions are altered. This is the pathological picture of Alzheimer's disease in human brain. We can see senile plaques that is mainly responsible for our functional deterioration in Alzheimer's disease. And this is also an example here. You can see amyloid beta that is deposited around the neurons and also the blood vessels. That is the basic concepts of Alzheimer's disease. There was some discussion yesterday that amyloid beta peptide has no role in Alzheimer's disease, but my point is that it is very difficult. For example, if this room is very dark and 3 people just lit the cigarette, then you can understand, okay, only 3 people are here. Even there are 80 people could be there. So this is misleading. But I can tell you that amyloid beta peptide is one of the leading consequences of Alzheimer's disease. And here, when it is increased, it can also break various proteins, leading enhancement of tau and disintegration of microtubules. This is another example that how the enzymes act on amyloid precursor protein and cut into different fragments, leading to accumulation of amyloid beta. I can tell you here in this cartoon that not only neurons, glial cells, endothelial cells, all are affected. But not very good examples are given before the blood-brain barrier is damaged in Alzheimer's disease. We have some indirect evidences. There are few reports earlier telling that blood-brain barrier is leaky in Alzheimer's disease. There is also one concept that the blood-brain barrier is not allowing amyloid beta peptide to get out of the brain. But these are 2 hypotheses. I am not coming into this controversy. I can only tell you that cerebrovascular lesion is quite prominent and extravascular serum proteins is seen in cases of Alzheimer's disease. And you can see that intracerebral hemorrhages, cortical infarct, telling that probably blood-brain barrier is very leaky and one of the main regions for having Alzheimer's disease. We have other evidences. You know that endothelial cells contain many enzymes that are regulatory for blood-brain barrier. And you can see that all these enzymes are changing. There are also reports of pathological changes in endothelial cells, and you can see that these data published earlier showing endothelial cells are compromised. Another example just is showing different aspects of looking at this. And recently people are talking about use of nanotechnology to treat Alzheimer's disease. There are very little evidence so far, and we are working since 2004 on nanotechnology of drugs. And one of the examples that they can reduce oxidative stress if given in right treatment. So we are using cerebrolizing. This is a drug manufactured by Biopharma in Austria. Why we use this? Because in any disease we have many factors out there, not only one. So if we use one drug, it is very difficult to control other aspects. So here we are using, this is multimodal drug, neuronal survival, neuroprotection, neuroplasticity, and neurogenesis. And we have done some basic experiments with cerebrolizing in many different kinds of experiments showing good neuroprotection. This is one example that what we do, that leakage of serum proteins was examined in animal model of Alzheimer's disease that was created by intracerebroventricular diffusion of amyloid beta peptide for 4 weeks. And here you can see that treatment with cerebrolizing is reduce the leakage of serum albumin. Then we try to study nano delivery of drugs. And this is Dr. Kudon Khan. He is the father of nanowires, but he discovered this for electronics. And now we are using these nanowires, titanium dioxide nanowires, for biological applications. This is Dr. Ryan Tingan and this is Dr. Wang. They have the US patent on these titanium nanowires, and we are using in collaboration with them to label drugs with their methodology so that there is no error done in our laboratory. And we study the effect of nanowire delivery of cerebrolysine and also other drugs. I am showing here only cerebrolysine at the moment. Some people are also labeling stem cells on nanowires, and in our hand we have seen that even nanowiring of stem cells given together with cerebrolysine or other drugs, they enhance the neuroprotective effects and survival of stem cells as well. So, this is our collaboration with the University of Arkansas, the former governor, and he is helping us making our experiments. And I have my pleasure to inform you that since we are using nano delivery of drugs, my wife has submitted an innovation to National Innovation Summit. It occurs every year in Washington, D.C., National Harbor in May, and in 2016, 2016, she submitted delivery of nanowire technology cerebrolysine in models of sleep-deprived brain injury patients. Because you know we are working with military organizations, and sleep deprivation is one of the leading cause of intelligence failure. And so we have shown that sleep deprivation increases the permeability. And when we have brain injury in sleep-deprived animals, then it is much more devastating. So what she did, she has delivered nanowire alpha MSH, because alpha MSH is a sleep-related peptide, and this cerebrolysine. And to our surprise, the US government and other organizations found that this is the top 15% of technology initiative. So we were very happy that we are going in the right direction, and this was the certificate. In 2013, when we used only nanowire cerebrolysine for neuropathic pain in different models, then I was given 20% top technology award, but my wife was succeeded in 15%. So the point is that cerebrolysine and nanowire technique is quite interesting, you know. So look here, to test the hypothesis that it's leakage. So here you can see that amyloid beta peptide is leaking in the mouse model of Alzheimer disease, and cerebrolysine treatment alone, and nanowire cerebrolysine is much more better effective. Here is the graphic showed that nanowire cerebrolysine given, it reduces the amyloid protein in the CSF. The second thing also happening that this tau is also reduced when we have given nanowire cerebrolysine as compared to cerebrolysine alone. So this is our model. We produce AD-like symptoms by ICD administration of amyloid beta peptide, and we use 4 pictures of Bible. And then since we are pathologists, we always look to cellular structures. And here you can see that this is the A-beta infusion and albumin reactivity around the vessel here. Nanowire cerebrolysine has the best protective effect as compared to cerebrolysine, and this is also this albumin leakage. You can see it is best protected by nanowire cerebrolysine. This is another example that whenever we have neuronal changes, we can also see glial changes, and here you can see that activation of astrocytes, and this is best protected by nanowire cerebrolysine. Neuronal changes is also best protected by the nanowire cerebrolysine as compared to cerebrolysine alone. Then we went to the electron microscopy to confirm our hypothesis, and here you can see that the myelin vesiculation and damage of edema is much more here, and nanowire cerebrolysine is protecting much better than cerebrolysine alone. The point is that now we are working, all experiments on pharmacology are done all across the world in healthy animals, but this is not the proper way to understand the function, because people who get the disease have either endocrine disorders or different kinds of other functions. So what will happen if the same treatment is given to the animals that were made diabetic? And here you can see we have used this chemical-induced diabetes. And you can see here that in diabetic animals, the pathogenesis of A-beta peptide infusion was much more worse. In that situations, nanowire cerebrolizin is the only agent that can reduce. We can 10 times double the dose of normal cerebrolizin, then we can achieve something. But nanowire cerebrolizin given in small doses is much more effective in situations with diabetes. Then the question is that it is quite clear that our soldiers always get many kinds of injury, including head injury, and even mild head injury showing no symptoms, they will develop Alzheimer's disease over the period. So that's why we studied some other model. We have head injury and we injected the same A-beta peptide. The other enzyme here we found is neprilysin. Neprilysin is also increased in head injury by itself. So what will happen? And in some cases in Alzheimer it is decreased. So there are reports that neprilysin could be neuroprotective. So here is our model of concussive head injury. In animal model we drop this weight and it uses an impact of 0.2 to 4 Newton. And you can see here that it is replicating human models of concussive head injury because when the injury is done on right side, it is counter-coup mechanism. So we have much more devastating changes on the other side because brain is quite close. So if we have injury here, the forces are going to this side and it can be seen here clearly. The left uninjured side is much more damaging than the right. Well, this is a table that I summarized data because I have very less time. I can tell you that this is saline infusion and traumatic brain injury and A-beta peptide infusion. You can see all values are much more higher than the A-beta peptide infusion alone. Neuronal injury, A-beta peptide deposit, albumin cells. Nanowire cerebrolizin in traumatic brain injury plus A-beta peptide is quite effective in all the parameters that we have studied. Then we also delivered mesenchymal stem cells using nanowire delivery. You can see that mesenchymal stem cells delivery alone is better. But when we combined both mesenchymal stem cells and cerebrolizin, I think we have the best results, reducing all the parameters of pathology. This is an example here, nanowire mesenchymal stem cells alone, nanowire cerebrolizin alone, but combination is much more effective here after A-beta peptide injury. So now I will show you some examples of neprilysin. This is a peptide and it has some protective effects. And here is the neprilysin and this amyloid beta. When they merge, you can see that it is reduced, but it is not showing any great linkage with GFAP, the astrocytes. So what we have done here, that we have combined cerebrolizin and nanowire neprilysin. What you can see here, that this combination has really reduced brain edema formation, blood-brain barrier disruption, and even brain pathology. This is clumsy table, but you can see that. These are the examples in hippocampal damage. This is traumatic brain injury plus A-beta peptide infusion. We hardly see any live cells. When we have given cerebrolizin, then we can see many cells are active and live in hippocampus. But when neprilysin and cerebrolizin, this is much more effective and live cells in hippocampus. We are also working with Sir Proto on some aspects of nanowire labeling to see that whether we can reduce Alzheimer's disease. So far we have shown that AD pathology is exacerbated in traumatic brain injury and also diabetes. Co-administration of nanowire cerebrolizin and neprilysin is more effective, and we can say that neprilysin and cerebrolizin could be complementary to each other in down-regulating various pathologies in Alzheimer's disease. Now I can show you some other example in the last 5 minutes. That the point is that if we deliver the same drug using nanowire delivery or some other model of delivery, whether the effects are same or different. So we are working with University of Modena, my colleague Giovanni Tosi. He is labeling drugs with PLGA technology. And what we have seen that PLGA loaded cerebrolizin is quite stable in plasma. And you can see here the same techniques were used. Here is titanium nanowire cerebrolizin delivery and PLGA cerebrolizin delivery. You can see that even this mode of delivery of cerebrolizine is also equally neuroprotective, but it appears that nanowire delivery of cerebrolizine is much more effective on regional changes in the blood-brain barrier permeability. Then why we fail in clinical cases? Because it is very hard to find two identical clinical cases, and that's why the drug testing has failed. Now we are working with also Dr. Shelley. He's a Nobel Prize winner in 1977, Physiology and Medicine, and he works in Miami, and we are using some of the CR fragments on which he got the Nobel Prize to see what is happening. We have some results, but we cannot disclose at the moment. Then this is Dr. Asia. She works in Arkansas, and she developed another model of labeling of cerebrolizine. And this is this titanate nanospheres. They were labeled with cerebrolizine, the hollow titanate nanospheres, and the cerebrolizine release is continuously high over a long period. Oh, sorry. And also, this is Dr. Ada Yunov. His chemistry Nobel. She has interest in antibiotics. We were in Brescia and we discussed this in details. She wanted to study some nanowire delivery of antibiotics to treat some chronic or antibiotic resistance. This we are working at the moment. So I can tell you that blood-brain barrier is damaged in Alzheimer disease. That is quite clear. Nanowire cerebrolizine is effective in reducing AD pathology. However, we need further research in this area. But we also want to study the effect of hyperthermia that our soldiers are exposed in various cases. I showed you diabetes. We are also working on hypertension and other comorbidity factors. So I can only tell that nanomedicine is the need of hour. We need to study also neurotoxicity of nanomaterials that is used. And last week we were in Bethesda with US FDA policy regulation of nanoparticles. They are working on that, and we are happy to tell you that we are able to introduce this comorbidity factor because they are going to regulate this nanoparticle effect on humans. And we were happy to tell you that now they are considering this comorbidity factors is also important. The regulation may appear in 2017. So these are our various organizations who supported our study. A lot of collaborators and grants. And I am from Uppsala University. And thank you very much for your time.
Any questions? Yeah.
Dear Dr. Kari, I think you very interesting report and a very difficult disease because this is a multi-genomic processes including, and found these drugs for the treatment. It's also very difficult, I think. Why? I think so. Because the ethology of Alzheimer included in many genes and large genes, yes, and 4 types chromosomes. So I remember first chromosomes, 18 chromosomes, 21 chromosomes, and maybe 17 chromosomes. So it's 4 chromosomes. Same symptoms is. I not understand, yes. And there you wrote this, that's two same Alzheimer syndromes is cannot found it. So, what do you think? What do you think? And different symptoms, different areas, this pathology. Drugs which give us an effect, it's maybe very short effect, and more need of know different by the chromosomes damage and pathology, and I think this syndrome and this pathology is separate, and common effect by the drugs I think this. Thank you.
That's
you
good.
Understand?
Yeah, I understand your question. I have not discussed the genetic factors behind changes in different kinds of symptoms. We are still working on that, but I agree that these are very important aspects. That's why many drug trials in clinical conditions fail, and we need to work on this. Thank you very much for pointing out this important point.
Can I ask
Yes,
another
please.
question? I'm working on.
Use the microphone, please.
Yep. I'm working on actual drug delivery since 2012 with Canberra Group in University, Australia.
Yeah.
So my main question is the nanowire. There are two modes of drug release within plasma.
Yes.
So what is the drug release pattern of the nanowires? Is burst or sustaining release?
It could be sustained released because we are measuring the drugs released in the brain at different pockets after the delivery by nanowires and normal drug delivery. So I believe that this is sustained release for longer periods.
Yeah. I showed that the picture of nanovirus. It was like in the first 24 hours, it's like a high dosage at 24
Yes.
hours.
Yes.
So you think that it might be within 96 hours would be decreasing or?
In our hands, the drug titer is very high in the brain up to 1 week. I have shown only a part of this. I just want to tell you that even the drug is injected in the system,
Yeah.
in plasma level, it is effective and continuous for a long period of time.
Yeah.
We have tested up to 6 weeks.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Yeah.
We have seen in your presentation that there are different types of technologies that can be used in nanomedicine. And is there a criteria to select the best one?
Okay, that is a very good question. I did not show my results because this is done in spinal cord injury. The question is that whether we can use nano delivery of X method or Y method to use any drug and it would be better. The answer is no. You have to have good drug because we are working with another pharmacy company in Uppsala. This is called a Biopharma. They have given 5 drugs with different affinities to melanocortin 4 receptors, and some of the drugs were also inverse agonist. So we treated them blindly and used the identical doses, not the molecular equivalent, and leveled the same way and applied in a spinal cord injury. Then we found that 1 or 2 drugs are the best and not the other drugs, and also even we utilize these nano delivery at different time points. So if I give the same drug 5 minutes after a spinal cord injury and 1 hour after a spinal cord injury, there are differences when the end results were measured 48 hours. So some of the drugs really improve the functional outcome, but some of the drugs did not improve at all. And when we combine both of them, then the 2 bad drugs were combined, then the bad effects were much more pronounced. So the importance is you have to select the drug depending on its neuroprotective ability. That is important.
Any question? We need to next Dr. I asked Dr. Hari to facilitate the sessions, charity of the sessions.
Well, I think allow me to leave because ask someone else.
Then I asked Dr. Dimas
Yes,
and
that is
Dr.
fine.
Can you
Okay, we go to chair.
Yeah. The sessions.
Which one?
Okay, sir. We will see you in Tennessee. I have some important work.
I want
Thank you
to-
very much.
Dr. Aarti from Dikha Rajasthan.
Okay. It's from. We are from Varanasi.
आपको देखे समझ से
Can you
Same,
Dr.
same.
Dimas?
बनारस में कहीं बार आए
अच्छा.
मेरे फ्रेंड है यंग